Hi folks, welcome back to Bougie Comfort Food. I'm your hostess, Mary Landry, and today we're going to show you how to use that brisket that we filmed last week, and we're going to show you what to do with your brisket. Now, it is not a week later, okay? We're only about 2 or 3 days out of that brisket, and we've been eating it and enjoying it, but as all things, you get tired of that same old thing every day. Now, I told you that when you made the brisket to reserve the liquid so that you could store it in there and it stays moist, and so that you can freeze it if you just have tons of it that you're not getting through. So, I've got my brisket in my reserve liquid. I actually have 2 containers, so if we run a little short, I can put a little more in the food processor. You have 3 large baking potatoes. I only have 3 people in my house. And if you have more, you can make however much you need to cover that many people, but I've got 3 large baking potatoes. Additionally, I have 4 stalks of green onion. We're going to chop all that up and we'll put it into a Tupperware and use what we need. That onion is a necessary part of this, because it gives you that onion flavor that's so lovely. And what we're basically doing is making a loaded baked potato, and we're putting brisket on top of it. Whoo, and trust me, you will slap your mama for this. So, let's get into it, okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is we've got our 3 washed potatoes. You want to wash those skins really well and make sure you get all the dirt off of them. You're going to put those into a 400-degree oven, and you're going to cook them for 1 hour. So, I've already got my oven heated, and I'm going to lay my potatoes in here. You want to put them in the middle of your oven, like on the middle of the rack. If you're doing more than 3 potatoes, you'll stagger them on the rack, so it's no big deal. We've also got a stick of butter that we're letting soften on our countertop. You've got real bacon pieces. I have a pound of sharp cheddar cheese that I'm going to shred up. And of course our brisket and our juice. Now when you do that, you're going to take the brisket out of the juice, put it into your food processor and chop it up. If you don't have a food processor, don't panic. You can run a knife through it and chop it up that way. It's okay. You want to get those pieces fairly small though. If you're going to dice it pretty heavily, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my green onions and go ahead and get them all chopped up and pretty. We're going to cut the bottom of the stalk off of each of the onions, and then we're going to peel away anything that looks a little wilted or brown, because you know that happens. And make sure when you have your tips, you cut those tips off so you're getting the freshest piece of onion, because that really does make a difference, okay? So we're going to take our onion and we're going to cut it up into 1/4-inch slices. And I got to peel off the bottom of this onion. Like I said, you're going to peel away anything that, you know, is broken or looks a little funky. The leaf didn't come out quite right. See how this one's just not as pretty as the rest of it? So we're just going to peel that away. And this is one of those meals that really is just fantastic to eat. I would not leave my brisket in the fridge for more than like maybe 2 or 3 days to do this. So like I said, once you're tired of eating that brisket just as brisket and mashed potatoes, or brisket and baked potatoes, or whatever you're doing, this is a different way to use that brisket so that you use it all up. Now you can freeze that brisket, as I stated in the directions for brisket. I said that you can take it and put it in that reserved liquid and use that and be able to store it or freeze it. You want to freeze it in that, and you want to thaw it in that liquid, because that keeps it all moist. And it does freeze very beautifully. So if you have frozen yours and you're seeing this as a way to use it a second time, that's a good way. Now we're going to cut up these onions into about 1/4-inch pieces, okay? And we're going to put those aside in a Tupperware once I get that done. And they're kind of more as garnish. You're going to give a pretty heavy, liberal sprinkling of them, but it really, really, really adds to the flavor of your potato. Now, not everybody likes green onions. If you don't and you want a milder flavor, you can use chives. Either fresh or dried is fine. I know that not everybody keeps fresh chives on hand or grows them. So you can use dried chives, that's fine. And we're just gonna, like I said, we're gonna chop up our green onion. I want quite a bit. It'll make about a cup, cup and a half. And this meal is actually getting served to a friend of ours. And she was here when we did the the shrimp and Cajun shrimp and pasta. Paula Ellisor is coming back to join us. She's one of our subscribers and has enjoyed a lot of the good food that I make for you guys. And she said, look, I don't want to do this on purpose. I'm a mobile notary, in case I haven't mentioned that. I am a mobile notary here in Texas. And she asked me, could I do some notary business for her tomorrow afternoon? And so I will be meeting up with her and doing the mobile notary thing. And my buddy Randy Shaver is going to bake my potatoes and soften my butter while I'm doing that, so that when I come home, we can put all this together. So I am going to shred up a little bit more brisket in our food processor than we need for today. You want about a cup of brisket for each potato. Like I said, this is a full meal on a plate, okay? So I'm going to shred up a little extra so that we can do brisket potatoes tomorrow and impress her. So we'll see what she thinks of that. Give me a minute. Let me grab a Tupperware real fast to throw my green onions in. And then we're going to shred up about 2 cups of cheese. I use sharp cheddar because it really does give a good flavor to all this. And remember, you're going to use a cup of bacon pieces. This is not bacon bits. This is real bacon pieces. Now, this is the Walmart brand. You can really use any one you want. Hormel makes a really excellent one. So don't be afraid to use their brand. They're good. All right. So I'm going to put in my onions. Now, of course, I'll have to cut up more onions for tomorrow, because your cut green onions are not going to last well in the refrigerator, but that's okay. Okay, you want to do those fresh anyway. They start to brown and wilt, and they get a little funny. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shred up that 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. Now I'll have to get some more cheese for tomorrow because I like cheese. And I like to put lots of it on my potato. So I want to make sure I have plenty of cheese tomorrow for when Paula gets here. And hopefully she'll be as impressed with all this as I'm hoping on. She seems to enjoy whatever I cook and tells me it doesn't matter what I cook. But yeah, she said, I hate to do this. I'm going to invite myself to dinner if that's okay. I said, it's absolutely fine. I'm going to be notarizing a contract for her tomorrow. And I told her, you're always welcome for dinner. Now, like I said, we want about 2 cups of shredded cheese. That's going to be about 1 pound of cheese. Or a half a pound if you're buying it. You can buy it in the little Ziplocs at Walmart. That's fine. If you buy the already shredded cheese, it's no big deal. I just like to shred mine so I know I've got enough. If you're just buying the package of shredded cheese, like I said, that's fine. Get the one that has 2 cups, okay? Because we're going to do about 2 cups of shredded cheese. And I'm probably got a little extra, but, you know, I'm always a little extra. My wife always says that, so. All right, so we're going to shred up this cheese, and we are almost done with that. And then the next step is we're going to shred up that brisket in our food processor. Now that process is going to be a little bit loud, so I'm going to try not to talk too much while we're shredding. But, let me get my Tupperware bowl open. Now, the good news about shredded cheese is it may stay in there. If you hold that bottom of that grater, you'll be able to transfer your cheese. Easy peasy, folks. Don't forget to run your fingers along the inside and get any pieces that are hanging in there, okay? Now I've probably got about 4 cups of shredded cheese, which is perfect. Then I don't have to shred cheese for tomorrow and don't have to worry about it. Around my house, shredded cheese is not going to go wrong no matter which way you go, because my house loves cheese. We put it on salads, we use it for tacos, use it in a lot of my cooking. Y'all know I'm a cheese head. I'm not from Wisconsin, but boy, I love my cheese. All right, so we've got our green onions diced. We've got our real bacon pieces. We've got our butter softening on the counter. Now, there's a reason why I tell you to do your butter softened on the counter. It's just easier to go into that potato and it melts so much faster, okay? So, now I've got me a container set aside to put my chopped up brisket in. Now this is the part that's going to get loud. So when we get loud, I'm not going to talk over it. But you can see I've got my brisket in my liquid. And we're just going to, if the pieces are kind of big, you can see that piece is a little bit big. We're just going to take that piece, cut it in half lengthways so that we can throw it in that food processor easier. See, this piece is perfect to go into our food processor. Let's see if y'all can see that. Because it's nice and long and thin, so it's going to fit down our chute easy. So I'm just going to kind of dig in my liquid, and see there's a piece that we're going to have to cut in half lengthways. And yes, I'm dripping liquid, but it's into a cutting board that has a lip on it, so I'm not getting it everywhere like it might look like I'm doing. Let's see. We don't have too many pieces left in this container because we have been eating the heck out of some brisket sandwiches. Now that's what we did for Randy's birthday a few days ago. So we have got plenty going on, okay? Now, don't throw that liquid away. Remember what I said. We're going to put it back in that liquid so it stays moist. And you can see I've got some chunky pieces in here, but they're still that long and thin, so they'll go through my food processor pretty well. But I'm going to jump out a few extra pieces so that I can, like I said, we're going to make a little bit more shredded today than what you may need. And when I said you're going to use about a cup's worth for each potato, you really want your family or whoever your guests to have plenty of brisket on those potatoes. So just know that we're going to process quite a bit today. Like I said, I have a guest coming tomorrow, and I have stored my brisket well in my fridge, so we'll be able to enjoy this meal again tomorrow. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and shred this amount up and see where we're at and see how we're doing. Now, everybody's food processor may be different. I like to turn mine on. Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. And I'm just going to throw her down in there. Woo! She wants to rock and roll while we're doing this. And it's going to take a few minutes for it to grind down. But basically you want to just shred all that beef up. And we're just throwing it in there. Okay, let's look at the consistency because we don't want baby food. Okay? that sounds like it's going to make baby food. So we're going to turn it back down low. All right. And just throw our brisket in there. Get it to where it's going around and getting all ground up. Okay. Let's take a look at it because like I said, we don't want it too mushed. Looks like I'm going to have to pull those last 3 pieces out and go ahead and get this brisket out of the food processor and just do another load. And that's fine. We were expecting that. And remember, I've got my, whoops, missed a piece of brisket in that one. Let me just feel around real quick. Now, this is not a clean meal. I'm just going to tell you that. It's a little messy. But, like I said, trust me, this is worth it. Now, I'm going to get me a spoon out real quick and scrape this out. And I'm going to keep on trucking at it. I'm going to put it into this container of liquid because I want to keep it moist. But see, your brisket's going to be broke up, kind of like a chopped brisket. If you've ever gone to a barbecue place down here in Texas, they like doing brisket potatoes. And I'll tell you, I've had a few places and they were all good. Don't get me wrong, they were all good. Some better than others. It really depends on who does that brisket and how they treat their brisket. You know, whether they do a spice rub and smoke it all day, which is the common thing down here in Texas. And what all they do with it afterwards. Now, some of it has, I see it all chopped up and kind of dry in the pans. And I know that it's not going to be the fantastic brisket that I enjoy if it's like that, honestly. But, you know, like I said, each place does it different. Each place has a different rub and a different spice blend and what have you. Now, if you find when you're pulling this out of your food processor that you have a piece that just didn't process quite as well, it's okay. You can always run it back through there. So, all right, I got a majority of it out of here. And like I said, you can see it's fairly finely chopped. I find that works better on a potato. But now I'll tell you, if you are ever in Cleveland, Texas, and I know you're thinking, Cleveland, Texas, huh? Yep, Cleveland, Texas. If you're ever in Cleveland, Texas, you want to put into your Google search, Duke's Barbecue. Now, he's only open during the daytime, so if you're going through Cleveland in the daytime, that's your place, okay? I had a bus aide, her name was Quisha Wiltz. And Miss Quisha, I told her I was disappointed with the barbecue joint that we had gone to in Cleveland. And she told me, did you go to Duke's? And I said, well, no, where's Duke's? And she said, oh, honey, I'm going to show you on the route. And she did. Now, I'll tell you, when she recommended Duke's, it was definitely the place to go. Duke is a Vietnam veteran, and he's been running a barbecue place in Cleveland, I think, for about 20, 30 years. And trust me, that man knows how to smoke a brisket. All right, so we're going to go back to processing our brisket. You want to get it nice and chopped up. Woo, she danced, didn't she? Woo. I haven't coupled it. Okay. And Duke makes an excellent brisket stuffed potato, loaded potato. He definitely knows his meat and he knows how to cook it. And apparently he smokes meat 7 days a week. That man does not take a break. And he's not open 7 days a week. He does not open on Sundays. He actually shares his brisket with his church on Sundays. And like I said, that man could do a brisket, buddy. Okay, I got a piece that just didn't go through again, but that's okay. My processor's full again. So we're gonna pop out the pieces that didn't process, and we're gonna take that chopped up brisket that we've got in here and throw it into our container. And we're just gonna keep processing for a minute. Oh shoot, I didn't set my oven, did I? That oven's at 400, and you're gonna go for about an hour. I think we've been doing this maybe about 15 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and put it on for another 45 so I don't over bake and dry out my potatoes. There we go. Whew, lose my butt if it wasn't attached, I swear. All right, so we're just getting our beef out of the processor. I think this is gonna be plenty for today and for tomorrow, because I have almost got this filled in my liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze my other container of beef, because we don't need it right now. And like I said, it's only been about 2-3 days, and it should be fine for another meal, but we'll have to eat it whatever day we thaw it. So, don't try to eat cooked food longer than 5 days. Food safety will tell you, only a couple of days in a fridge, but if you're keeping it covered and you're not taking it in and out of the fridge, you ought to be okay. And like I said, this is just a way to use up that brisket in a new way for your family. All right. One more round ought to have the last little bit of my beef done. And when I stop seeing that piece of beef go sliding around, I know that we are done. See, it's still wanting to fight me. That's okay. We're patient. And anybody who's ever cooked knows this is not a short process. When you cook, you gotta be patient and just keep it going. Okay. Hold her down so while she dances it won't be too bad. Get those beef pieces knocked out. All right, I think we got it that time. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift my blades out and put those in the sink. Like I said, I've got about 4 to 6 cups of chopped beef in this container. And since I'm doing this again tomorrow, I might have more like 8 cups, who knows. I'm not measuring it right now, so, but we're going to definitely serve a nice brisket loaded potato to Miss Paula tomorrow. We had originally planned to do steaks out of the rest of our brisket roast. That is one of the things. Remember I told you cut off some and we're going to throw it in the freezer? The shorter end, the smaller end. I put it directly into the freezer. It didn't even have a chance to fully thaw before I used it, because I bought my brisket and I froze it. And I got it half thawed, but that short end never does thaw quite down. All right, so we've got our brisket in our liquid. We're going to make sure that our liquid covers all of that brisket. Now remember, we're going to do this, and when we reheat it, we're going to, see I got a couple of little pieces I got to redo. That's okay, we can get our blades out. When you're stirring it around, you'll be able to see whether you've got pieces you need to reprocess. Okay? So, once you do that, it's going to kind of look mushy. Okay? That's okay. Don't panic if it looks mushy. And if you have a small child who's just starting to eat solid food, And I'm just going to take this brisket piece. Remember I told you can dice it up on your cutting board. And I'm just going to cut this up real fine, real quick, instead of putting it back through the processor. If you have a small child who's just really getting into solid food and you're feeding them solid food, you know, they got a few teeth in their mouth, this brisket will actually work. You can feed them this. It's not too spicy because we only did it with barbecue sauce and some apple cider vinegar. So you could give them this and some little mashed potatoes on the side, or if you're going to give them a little piece of baked potato just for them to roll around in their mouth. You know, when kids start eating, they kind of roll stuff around in their mouth. So if you're going to do that, that's fine. You could give them baked potato. I would go easy on the dairy for a new eater, but I know folks have babies and grandbabies around, and you know, if you're getting them started on some good food, this is a great way to start, buddy. Of course, then they might be finicky about eating other stuff, so I don't know. You might not want to share your brisket tater with them. All right, so I've got a full container, you can see, in the liquid. And I'm going to put the last little brisket into the freezer. I have that second container, remember. It's about half full now, and that'll make for a good meal another night. So I'm going to throw that sucker in the freezer, and we've got our brisket. And so now, since we've got our cheese done, our onions done, and our brisket done, we're going to take a little break and come back to you in about 30 minutes when those potatoes come out the oven. All right, folks, if you're enjoying this content, consider giving us a like. That helps to get our message out and our videos out to new people out there who are looking for great things to cook. And you might consider hitting subscribe. Subscribe will show you every time that we upload a video, it'll come up as a notification if you hit that notification bell. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll know every time we make something good on this channel. Now, additionally, down in the description, I always have the recipes so that you can make this at home. You know, just watch some of this, then you'll see what we do, how I do it. Because even though you can take a recipe, everybody's got their own take on what a recipe says, okay? So if you watch the video, you'll be able to do that. But down in the description, I'm also going to link the barbecue brisket so that you'll know how to make this and start with the barbecue brisket that I'm making, okay? So we're going to come back to you in about 30 minutes, so hang tight and we'll be right back. Hi folks, we're back. Okay. So, in the break, we've baked our potatoes. I've heated up that chipped beef, that brisket, in a bowl with some of the juices in the microwave. Now, you could heat it over the stove if you're really ambitious, but let's be serious. Put it for about 6 minutes in the microwave and it's good to go. All right, so I've got a plate out, and I have one of my potatoes on the cutting board. And what we're going to do is, we're going to cut that potato in half lengthways, okay? Just like you would any other time you're eating potato. Now, that potato is done, as we stated in twice baked potatoes, that potato is done once you can put a fork into it and it pierces through the skin. We are leaving the skin on these potatoes. The skin is where you have nutrients in it. Now I'm going to make some horizontal, like diagonal cuts in that potato. Okay. I'm going to just make some scores in it. I'm going to go down pretty deep into actually touch the skin with that knife. Now then I'm going to turn my potato and I'm going to make horizontal, diagonal cuts again, diagonal. Just to kind of break that potato up, so that when you're eating it, it's a little easier to eat. Now that potato is going to be really hot coming out of the oven, so make sure you use your oven mitts to do it. And when you're doing this part, try not to handle it too much or you will scorch your finger. So I've made some hash marks in my potato, as you can see. And the next step, we're going to put some of that softened butter. Remember I told you soften your butter. That makes it easier for it to melt into your potato. Now I usually put about 2 tablespoons per potato. So we're going to just slice off some pats and lay them on top of that potato so they start melting. And like I said, I usually use about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons per potato because I really want that butter flavor to get down in that potato. So I've got a whole stick of butter out for the 3 potatoes I did. It may not take all of them, and if it doesn't, I'll put the butter back in the fridge, no biggie. But we've let it soften while we've been baking these potatoes and while I've been running this video so that it would soften up nicely and get down in that potato. Because you definitely want the butter because that just makes potatoes taste better, doesn't it? Just butter on those potatoes. All right, so we're going to move that butter around a little bit so it gets down in all those crevices that we've just cut with our knife. And I'm just using the tip of my knife just to kind of break that butter up. Now it's softened, but that doesn't mean that it's liquid, okay? So we're going to work that butter down in there. Now the next step is I'm going to put the cheese on because I want that cheese to melt down in that potato. I put about a cup and a half of cheese on each potato, but you're going to start with a cup down on that hot potato. Okay, about a cup's worth, maybe a fistful or 2, you know. Just get a nice covering of cheese because that cheese is going to taste fantastic with that brisket down on this potato. All right. So I've got a nice cup and a half of cheese on this potato. The next step that I'm going to do, I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup of real bacon pieces on there. Now I know you're thinking, you've got brisket, why are you doing bacon? Trust me, brisket and bacon are good buddies. They love each other very deeply, and we love bacon around this house. And so we're just throwing a little bacon on that big mug. All right. Next step we're going to put in is we're going to put our brisket down on the top, okay? So the next step we're putting in is our sour cream. We're just going to, I've got the squirty kind, but if you've got a tub, that's fine. Don't panic about it, okay? I've told y'all that before. Cooking is all by what your tastes are. But I'm going to use about 3 to 4 ounces of sour cream. Well, 2 to 3 ounces, I guess, of sour cream. Now, this one's almost empty, but luckily I have a spare for the other potatoes. So I'm just going to load that up with sour cream because I love sour cream. Now, if you don't like sour cream that much, you don't have to put as much as I did. It's okay. All right. So we've got our cheese, our butter, our bacon, our sour cream. And the next step we're going to put is a sprinkling of green onion. Now we chopped up not only the green parts, but also the white parts. The white parts are more intensely onion than the rest of it, okay? So remember that they're going to have a little more onion flavor to them. Like I said, you could use chives if you prefer chives. That's fine. You can do that. And our very last step on this big old plate of potato, and you can see it pretty much fills my dinner plate. And once I break up that skin a little bit, it will fill up that plate. We're going to put about a cup's worth of our brisket right over the top of this potato. About a cup and a half. Depends on how much lovely brisket you want on it. Okay? But you're going to make sure you cover that potato fully, just like you did with the sour cream and the cheese. We're going to throw a bunch of brisket on there. Now, if it's a little more than a cup or a cup and a half, that's okay too. You might be hungry and really love this brisket. So, all right. Okay, folks. So, we've got our butter, our cheese, our bacon, our sour cream, our green onions, and our brisket. She may not be the prettiest potato out there, and as you can see, I'm done. I got my brisket on there. But trust me, she is worth every minute you've put into it. Now that is a great way to reuse that brisket that you had in barbecue brisket. So, from all the folks here at Bougie Comfort Food, from Fred the Cat, our producer, Abigail the dog, and Lovey the pit bull, and my lovely wife and camera woman, Cheshire Cat, and myself, Mary Landry, we wish you a wonderful rest of your day and a fabulous week coming up. So, I'm going to go eat this potato now because I'm starving smelling it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, give us a like. That helps us reach more folks. Subscribe if you think this is the kind of food you would like to eat and think that my recipes are something you want to recreate. We have a ton of them up there, everything from Mongolian beef and Cajun shrimp and pasta down to twice baked potatoes, harvest bread pudding, and soon we'll be doing our double chocolate cake. And the one that I'm going to make is a sugar-free keto version of it. And we originally did it for my best buddy's birthday party. And unfortunately, something happened with the video, so we're going to have to refilm, but that's okay. Cheshire Cat and I have a party we're going to go to, and we're going to bring that keto cake because we have a lady who is dying to give it a try. So, thank you so much for watching, folks. Have a blessed day. Save a place for me.